Hello and welcome to Game Tech. We are talking about sequels that are better than the originals.
All right, so let me get this right. So you have this awesome game that you love, and then the company comes out and gives you something better than the original?
That's right.
That doesn't happen very often,
Not
Joe.
very often,
Not
but
at
we
all.
are going to look at some games where it did happen. And sometimes the originals aren't, necessarily the best games ever, as we're going to see later in the episode, but the sequels are actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, I'm going first, and let's get to it. The legendary Axe was an incredible launch game for the TurboGrafx 16. It's a hack-and-slash platformer where you power up your strength and your speed in order to defeat the bad guys and, of course, rescue your woman. The graphics are nice for an early title, and the music is pretty good as well. This is a fantastic game with great control for the most part. It's not perfect though, as you often bounce back when you get hit by an enemy. Also, when you walk towards the right, you have plenty of space to see oncoming obstacles and enemies, but when you walk to the left, not so much. Fortunately, you rarely ever need to go left. This game has lots of cheap deaths. Usually I die here on stage 3B, I've never actually been past this stage. If these crazy jumps with enemies popping up everywhere weren't enough, then this boss fight is. Look at that, if I stand up, I'll definitely get hurt. How am I supposed to get past that? Well, as I was recording the game for this episode, I somehow did. Wow, this is the first time I've ever even seen Stage 4. I've got to say so far that the music in Stage 4 sure sucks. Oh, these guys. I love these guys. God damn. I think if the speed in which you swing your axe didn't slow down so much when you lose a life, the game would be a lot more balanced. I mean, how are you supposed to defend yourself when you can only swing this fast? I mean, this is a great game if you don't die. This right here is as far as I've been able to make it, and let me tell you, I won't be trying again anytime soon. The follow-up is the Legendary Axe 2. In Japan, this isn't even a Legendary Axe game at all, but in the US it is, and I think it's a lot better for the most part. You have 3 primary weapons to choose from this time: a sword, a chain thingy, and even an axe. The faster a weapon is, the less damage it delivers. You can power up the strength of each weapon, and you even have screen-clearing bombs. My favorite weapon is the sword, and my least favorite one is the axe because it's just so damn slow. But anyway, this game feels like it's on speed, and there are much fewer cheap deaths. And if you do die, it's much easier to build your power back up, so as a whole it feels a lot more balanced. The graphics are really dark, and I'm not sure if I like them better or not. They're different, definitely more sleek. I really like the music in this game. It's very somber and moody, and no other game console can quite sound like the Turbo. The developers also added little touches like the animation your character does as he exits a stage. After stage 1, he walks and jumps off. After stage 2, he takes a couple of swings before leaving. After stage 3, he wanders the wrong way for a second. It's always different for each stage, and I love stuff like that. The game does feel a little floaty in the jumping department, and that'd probably be my biggest complaint. Overall, I find this game much more rewarding to play, and I keep coming back to it again and again.
The Castlevania Adventure was a launch title for the Game Boy in 1989. I think I'm one of the few people who really enjoys this game despite all of its shortcomings. Being a launch game, you can't expect it to be perfect, and you know what, it isn't. First off, Simon moves very slowly. I feel like this was done on purpose because you know how big the blur factor was on the original Game Boy. Maybe they did it just to reduce that blur. What the hell's that flashing up there? Is that random code? Yes, it is. The game only has 4 levels, and I can easily beat it in less than 40 minutes. There are no sub-weapons at all, just you and your trusty whip that can be upgraded twice into a flaming whip. Now to the good stuff. Graphically, the game is pretty good with some nice animation on the enemies. The music is outstanding and it has some of the best Castlevania melodies included. I love the Game Boy sound chip and I love the sounds that Konami was able to produce with it. The levels are all well designed, even if there aren't any stairs in it like other Castlevania games. Each level also has a secret area with power-ups and a 1-up. I still have a lot of fun playing this game even now, and it's a very worthy Castlevania entry. Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge was released 2 years later, and it does what a great sequel should. Now the game moves a little bit faster than before. There are a total of 6 levels, all fairly long and well laid out. This time around there are a few branching paths, but they eventually lead to the same spot. You can choose the order you want to conquer the first 4 levels, but the last 2 are in Dracula's castle, and he is not pro-choice. One of the better changes is the addition of sub-weapons. There's only 2 this time around, the axe and the holy water. It's nice to have these back as they make a huge difference in combat. Your whip can be upgraded twice again, and it'll stay that way until you get hit by this damn hand thing, which was also in the first game. One hit from its projectiles is all it takes, and down goes your level. The music is great, and it's a step above the first game with richer sound quality, and there's some really memorable tunes here. There's still not a lot of variety in the enemies, and many of them return from the first game. That's fine, as I like these enemies to begin with. That's why I'm killing them. A truly great game, this is how a sequel should be.
Alien Crush was an otherworldly pinball game and also another launch game for the TurboGrafx-16. Obviously inspired by the Alien movies, this game does things that a real pinball table could never do, like having bonus rooms with flying alien snakes that you need to destroy. The main board consists of an upper and a lower level. Unfortunately, they made this game before scientists discovered that the TurboGrafx had scrolling capabilities built right in, so the screen just flashes back and forth between the 2 tiers. It's actually kind of annoying. You have your choice of fast or slow gameplay as well as your choice of music. The graphics are really well done, and compared to other games at the time, the colors really blew me away. The music is also good, with both tunes giving an eerie vibe. So when Devil's Crush came out a year later, we were all expecting great things. This game delivered that and more. Devil's Crush is more about demonic imagery rather than aliens. There's also 3 levels to the board this time, but the top tier can be pretty tough to get to. And of course, there's plenty of bonus rooms. Fortunately, top scientists from around the world discovered how to make the TurboGrafx-16 scroll, and it really makes this game more enjoyable. There's also a lot more things to destroy and many more creatures that come out and wander around the board and explode when you hit them. The graphics have definitely taken a step up. I like the skull that watches your every move and laughs at your pathetic pinball abilities when you lose a ball. Ah, you stupid skull, don't rub it in. What's it to you? There's only one music track to choose from this time around, but that track is probably one of the best pieces of video game music ever composed. I'm not kidding. I mean, I'm generally not even a huge pinball fan, but I keep playing anyway just to listen to the music. For this episode, I asked the game's composer, Toshiaki Sakota, what he thought of the PC Engine, aka the TurboGrafx-16. Basically, he says that it's really easy to make great music for. Rock on. Overall, this game eclipses Alien Crush in every single way in my opinion. It's so good that Technosoft even ported the game to the Genesis themselves. Yeah, they wanted a piece of this sweet action. Hell, who wouldn't? And there you have it, my favorite video pinball game ever.
Super Mario Land was another launch title for the Game Boy. You can tell just by looking at it that it takes complete advantage of the immense and unrivaled power of the system. The game has not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 worlds, with count 'em 2 levels each and a massive boss fight. Hey folks, these numbers don't lie. The game can be beaten in under 45 minutes without any problems. Well, I guess that number doesn't lie either. I still like this game a lot because it's different from a lot of the Mario games that we know. That's probably because Miyamoto had nothing to do with this one. Each world has a different theme and has enemies that belong specifically to that world. Yeah, there's still Goombas, Koopas, and Piranha Plants, but there's much, much more. Also, there are these 2 easy shooter levels in the game that are done fairly well. The music is outstanding. No Koji Kondo stuff here, and that's fine because sometimes change is good, and this is definitely a good change. Mario controls well, but he looks a little anorexic to me. You still have the firepower flower, but instead of bouncing off the ground, the shots actually ricochet off anything it hits and go all over the screen for a few seconds. A nice feature was added at the end of each stage. There are 2 exit doors, and if you can make it to the top door, there's a mini game you can play to earn bonuses. All in all, a great launch game for the system that still rocks. Super Mario Land 2 was released 3 years later, and wow, what a difference 3 years can make. This is so much better than the first game, it's amazing. It's almost like night and day. The only thing left out that I liked from the first game are the shooter levels, but you know what, I can live without them. This time around, the game really does make full use of the Game Boy's hardware and comes on a 2 megabit cartridge. Or should I say, 2 mega power! That's 8 times more memory than the first game. Again, Miyamoto and Kondo had nothing to do with this game and it shows. I mean this in a good way though. The game plays similar to Super Mario World. You have an overworld map and you can enter any of the zones at any time. The zones again have very refreshing themes to them, unlike the usual Mario fare found in most of the other games. There are a total of 32 levels this time around, and that's including secret levels. As you can see, the game looks great. The levels are all packed with detail and great background graphics. Mario no longer looks anorexic, but instead looks like he can't stop eating. That's my plump little plumber. A lot of new enemies make appearances, and even a new power-up in the form of a carrot that gives you a rabbit hat. This ability lets you jump higher and descend slower, letting you cover greater distances. Wario also makes his very first appearance ever as the final boss. Sorry for the spoiler there. Again, at the end of each level, there's a chance to earn bonus lives and items. This time you must ring the bell at the end of the level to access the minigame. I actually like the music in the first game better, but the stuff here is still pretty good. This is truly a sequel that expands upon the first game in every possible way.
Wow, Dave, we sure covered a lot of launch games. Maybe too many, I don't know. But
So, what's wrong with launch games?
Well, nothing, I guess. But maybe we should get off the launch games for a while.
All right, well, we can do that.
Okay, and again, I'm going to go first.
No, let me go first this time. You went first last time. It's only fair that I get my chance.
Okay, fine, but no launch games.
Oh, all right.
Okay, anyway, let's see what you've got.
God of War is one of my favorite games for the PlayStation 2. This is a hack-and-slash adventure game loosely based on Greek mythology. I've always liked mythology, and I like hack-and-slashes, and they go together like Wonderboy and Adventure Island. You play as Kratos, who is sent by Athena to kill Ares, the god of war. When I first played the game and got to the first boss battle with the Hydra, I was completely blown away by how frickin' awesome this game was, and it was only the first level. The battles are the kind where the enemies take lots and lots of hits. Some people, like Joe, don't like this, and I typically don't either, but I found it to be fun in this game trying to rack up huge combos with my blades and magic. There's lots of blood and gore in this game with some cool death moves by Kratos. I think the game has a really good atmosphere with some great imagery. This here is probably one of my favorite levels in this game. I love the imagery of people falling and screaming in the background as if they've just died and Hades has taken them to his realm. The music is great and it sounds like the soundtrack to a movie. It reminds me of Jason and the Argonauts. Just a great game all around and I was hooked and wanted more. Well, I got more. God of War 2 came out 2 years later on the PS2 and I had my copy pre-ordered well before the game was released. When I finally played it, I wasn't disappointed at all. This is a great sequel. It doesn't really add much more in terms of gameplay as the controls and magic are all similar. The story continues from the first game, and in this one, Kratos is almost killed by Zeus. He's saved right before death by Gaia, one of the Titans.
We will help you defeat Zeus.
Anyways, it's a great story with some cool twists to keep it interesting. The game's engine feels a bit better than the first game, and the graphics seem to have a bit more detail. The game still suffers from screen tearing, just like in the first game, but you know what, I got past that as I was more interested in the gameplay and the story. The set pieces are all great. I really like the first level when you're fighting a huge statue throughout the entire stage. First you see it in these windows while you're fighting bunches of enemies. Then you make your way through and battle the statue multiple times throughout the level. I love this stuff. One sore spot with some people are the QTE or Quicktime Events. In general, I think people don't like these because there's not much to them but just a few button presses. Personally, I like them a lot as they add an extra layer to the cinematics of the game with some really cool visuals. This is another great game from Ken Jaffe and Santa Monica Studios, and I hope we get to see more of God of War on the PS4.
Wonderboy for the Sega Master System was based on the arcade game of the same name. You're off to rescue your green-haired woman from the clutches of evil. Basically, your life meter is always draining and you need to supplement it with fruit and other food. To attack, you can get a hatchet or maybe it's a tomahawk, I don't know. Each stage has 4 rounds, and at the end of the 4th, you need to fight a boss monster which epitomizes true evil. But then his head falls off and he gets a new one and escapes. Don't worry, 4 more rounds and you'll fight him again with his new head. Crap, he did it again! Anyway, this is a fun, if not simple game with decent graphics and repetitive music. And how often does a video game tell you how to do a level select right in the game manual? Anyway, Wonderboy in Monsterland was also based on an arcade game and it changes everything around. About the only similarity to the original is that you have yellow hair. Now, instead of an arcadey platformer, it's more of an adventure quest platformer. You level up your equipment and life and look for clues on how to advance to the next area. You can buy drinks for clues and also find hidden characters which will help you along your way. Money is really scarce in this game, so getting the best equipment isn't easy. Boots will let you run faster and jump higher. Jumping higher really helps you to reach hidden areas and gain even more money. You'll also fight bosses in order to get the key to the exit or simply to get a better sword. One boss even quizzes you. His riddle is always different. If you answer him correctly, he happily grants you access to the next level. Guess wrong and you have to fight him, and he's not easy. Clues to his riddle can be found if you look hard enough. The graphics are a step up and a bit more varied than the original game. The music is much more peaceful this time around, but it's still enjoyable. There's tons of replayability here, as when you die, you'll almost always want to restart the game and try again to get further. Perhaps the biggest flaw is that you need to use the original Master System controller to play, and that's not exactly known for its extreme precision. Unfortunately, you can't just use a Genesis controller, unless it's modded. Wonderboy kept improving with Wonderboy 3. Hell, the series just kept getting better and better. If you want to see the series a bit more in depth along with the Adventure Island games, be sure to check out episode 21 of GameSack.
Pilotwings was a launch game for the Super Nintendo in 1991. Joe, you can't stop me. This game was made to showcase the awesome capabilities of Mode 7 on the Super Nintendo. The game is probably best described as a flight simulator. Your goal is to earn various pilot licenses by taking all sorts of lessons in 4 vehicle types. You have the plane, hang glider, parachute, and rocket belt. The goal for each of these is very similar, flying through rings and landing safely. After you receive your 4th license, naturally your instructors are kidnapped, so instead of negotiating, they give you an attack chopper to go rescue these guys, and you have no training in any of this stuff. During the mission, you'll be shot at by multiple ground-to-air type guns. You need to take these out so you can land and rescue your instructors. If you manage to make it through this mission, you'll unlock Pilotwings Expert Mode. This is pretty much more the same, but the rings are smaller and a lot of the landing platforms are much smaller, and you have to deal with the variables like wind. This is a great game that did a great job of conveying a 3D world in a 2D game. Pilotwings 64 was a launch game for the Nintendo 64, and again, it was there to showcase the power of the system. The game was co-developed by Nintendo and one of the Dream Team developers called Paradigm Simulation. At the time, it did a great job of rendering a 3D world. Looking at it today, it's aging poorly, but it's still very fun and addictive to play. This time around, you choose from 3 vehicles: the Gyrocopter, Hang Glider, and Rocket Belt. You're still flying through rings and landing your vehicle, but as a good sequel, it adds so much more to your enjoyment. Now that you can fly through a 3D world, the landscapes aren't flat anymore. There are mountains and caves and all sorts of elevation changes which can make for harder tests to get your license. I really like the Gyrocopter as it has some of the more enjoyable missions, like this one where you have to shoot a giant robot that's destroying the town. I love how he has a human scream. There are a lot more areas to fly in now, like this mini-map of the USA. All the big towns are represented, but sadly there's no Denver, Colorado. What the hell? It's not fair. The music is mostly good, with a few tunes that really stand out. There's many bonus games that you can unlock as you progress, like parachuting where you make formations with other jumpers before you land, or the jump boosts which are mildly amusing for about 6 or maybe 7 seconds. Also, there's the human cannonball, which is really fun and you have to factor in wind and the height of the target along with the strength of the cannon blast. It's very technical. This guy doesn't sound like he wants to be fired from a cannon. I mean, it's fun. And my favorite is the Birdman, where you can fly around on any of the maps during the day, evening, or starry night. I could do this for hours, listening to the soft music play and, hey look, there's a space shuttle, it's taking off. Pilotwings 64 is a great sequel to a good game.
Jurassic Park on the Genesis was based on, well, you know what it was based on. You play as Sam Neill's character, Dr. Grant. The game faithfully replicates everything you saw in the movie and read in the book, like running around everywhere by yourself, shooting up tons of dinosaurs with found ammunition, pushing crates to make precarious jumps, navigating a canyon by the volcano, and even the part where you fight dinosaurs inside the volcano. Even the music is just like it was in the movie and the book. Wow, this must be that newfangled DTS technology they've been talking about. Heck, sometimes I have to check that I'm holding a controller and not the book, or that I'm playing a video game and not watching the movie. And to blur the line even more, you can choose to play as a raptor. You smell Dr. Grant and you spend the entire game tracking him down. Yep, for real. Thankfully for smelly old Dr. Grant, the raptor controls are awful and clunky. Not that the controls of Dr. Grant are any good either. Oh, whoops, that was weird. I did not do that. The game did that by itself. There's a ton of slowdown in here as well. In all honesty, the game is just really kind of average at best. I can't believe that it's running on the same system that runs the follow-up, which is called Jurassic Park Rampage Edition. Holy hell, is this ever a big improvement. Dr. Grant is still trapped on the island, only now he is pissed. He not only blasts dinosaurs to bits, but also people. Yes, people. Absolutely no one is safe from Dr. Grant's rage. I don't know, but I think they may have taken a few liberties with his character. I am gonna burn you. The game is now a pure side-scrolling run and gun, and it's so much better for it. The controls are much more forgiving, and while it's not perfect, the programming is far more competent. The graphics are light years better, and even the music is a bit better as well. Still doesn't sound like the movie though. You can even hitch a ride on a dinosaur and battle helicopters that are trying to take you down. I guess John Hammond really wants you dead. That's okay, because you want him dead too, and ain't nothing gonna stop you. And yes, you can play as the raptor again, and it still controls kind of clunky, but it's much improved over the first game. For example, now you can double jump just like a real raptor. You also get to take out helicopters and every other living thing on your way to dominate the island. I'm coming to get you, Hammond. You are going to pay. I was actually pretty surprised at how good this game turned out. I usually don't expect much from Western-made games from the time. Dave, I said no launch games, and you just showed 2.
God of War is not a launch game.
No, but Pilotwings 64, Pilotwings for the Super Nintendo is a launch game. I mean, has Pilotwings ever not been a launch game?
Maybe the 3DS one?
No, that was a launch game.
Remember? Was. Yeah, I do remember.
Yeah, so Anyway, what are some of the sequels that you think do better than the originals? Let us know, and because we like to read your comments, and quit looking at me like that, you freak, and get ideas so we don't have to think about it.
Yeah, and we do read your comments, so put them out there. We'd like to read them.
Yeah.
We might not respond to them, but we like to read them.
Yeah, and just, no. And in the meantime, thank you for watching GameSack. Alright, it's time to answer the age-old question that everybody wonders about. That's right, which is better, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 or Side Pocket, both for the Sega Genesis? First, let's take a look at Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Wow, that was amazing! Now let's take a look at Side Pocket. Oh my goodness, I can't decide which is better. They're both so amazing. We're gonna have to ask Dave. Dave, which one do you like better?
I like Side Pocket better, Joe.
And there you have it. Side Pocket is the better game, which is really stupid. You know, I think Dave's trying to make me look like an ass again. Oh well, tune in next time when we compare M1 Abrams Battle Tank to Phantasy Star 4.